Hello everyone, welcome to AEzeezoology. So today we will be talking about the structure of the stomach and the histology of the different layers. So let's start further. This is the structure of the stomach. It is divided into four major parts: the cardiac part, the fundus, the body and the pyloric part. The cardiac part, as the name suggests, this is the region which is nearer to the heart, and the connection here is the cardiac sphincter, in which the esophagus is leading, and the bolus from the esophagus, the food in the form of balls called bolus, is coming from the esophagus and entering the stomach. Then when the food enters into the stomach, it is known as chyme. Food in the stomach would be known as chyme. Okay. Then from the cardiac part, this is the fundus region. Then body, this is the lesser curvature, this is the greater curvature. Then comes the pyloric antrum and the pyloric sphincter, and this region is the pyloric part. So as we know, from the pyloric sphincter, further the food will be communicated to the small intestine, that is the duodenum part. So here is the connection with further the duodenum. Okay. So this is the structure of the stomach. As you can see, it's a small bag, and the lining of the stomach, this is giving a lot of infoldings, and these infoldings are there for basically increasing the surface area of the stomach, and these are known as gastric rugae, so that you can accommodate a larger amount of food. So these are gastric rugae. And these gastric rugae, they are bearing villi, and that villi are housing the gastric glands. So in this diagram, you can see that the gastric rugae is nothing but the further infoldings of the inner lining of the stomach, known as gastric rugae. They are bearing the gastric glands. So this is the cross section of the gastric glands. Now what do we mean by gastric glands? Gastric gland means that these are the villi-like portion which are having different type of cells with their contribution, with their secretions, which they'll be pouring into the lumen of the stomach, so that when the chyme or the food in the stomach is there, it acts upon it. Okay. So let us first see which are the different cells. They are the mucus cells. Then you have the oxygenetic cells. Then there are peptic cells and urgent deafened cells, right? Mucus cells can also be known as goblet cells. At different places you might have read, they are also known as goblet cells. Okay? So as the name suggests, mucus cells or goblet cells, what is their function? Their role is to secrete mucus, and that mucus is a slimy liquid which will be forming a film over the gastric cells, and so that the gastric juice, when it will be poured into the lumen of the stomach, it does not, because it is proteolytic, gastric juice is proteolytic also, so it does not, harm the lining of your stomach. So sometimes we say that there is, gastric ulcers are there. So what happens is that the gastric juice is secreted even in the absence or less amount of food, so that it is acting directly on the cells of the stomach lining. And because the cells, the plasma membrane of the cells, as you know, is made up of phospholipids and proteins. So it is being a proteolytic, gastric juice being proteolytic, it will act on the lining of the inner lining of the stomach, and it is going to destroy it, and that is known as gastric ulcers. So coming back, so these are the different cells. Now let me enlist. There are, as we have seen, peptic cells. These are peptic cells, or known as chief cells or zymogen cells. What is their function? Their function is to secrete proenzymes. Proenzymes means that these are the proteolytic enzymes, the enzymes which will be acting upon the proteins. They'll be breaking the bigger proteins into smaller, simpler forms, and they are in the form of proenzymes. That is, they are in the inactive form. Because if they will be active, as I have just told you, that they will be acting upon the inner lining of the stomach, which will be harmful for it. So that is why they are proenzymes or inactive form, which are prorenin and pepsinogen. So prorenin and pepsinogen will be activated to form renin and pepsin by the presence of HCl. So HCl is going to activate them. And from where HCl is being secreted? HCl is being secreted by oxygenetic or parietal cells. So here we have oxygenatic or parietal cells which will be secreting HCl. And when will they be stimulated to secrete HCl? When the food will occur and when the food will arrive in the stomach. Okay. So what is their function, and further that we will do in the next video, where I will be talking about the digestion of proteins. So there I will be talking about it. Further we'll proceed to that. Then another set of very small amount of enzymes are gastric amylase and gastric lipase. Though their role in the carbohydrate and lipid digestion in the stomach is very less, but still trace amounts of it has been found that they are present here. Then, as we have already talked, oxygenatic or parietal cells, they are producing HCl, and the second main thing which they are producing is Casel's intrinsic factor. Now, what is the function of Casel's intrinsic factor? This is going to lead to the absorption of vitamin B12 where in the intestine. So, this is going to be secreted here, and when in the small intestine after the food digestion takes place, this Casel's intrinsic factor is going to go there and act where it is helping in the reabsorption of vitamin B12, which is very important for homeopoiesis as we know it. So this is a very important factor for it. Okay. Then next we have urgent-afferent cells. Urgent-afferent cells, they are producing serotonin, somatostatin and histamine. So as we know that serotonin is a vasoconstrictor. So what is serotonin? It is a vasoconstrictor. What is the meaning of vasoconstrictor? Vaso means blood vessel, constrictor means to make it little narrower. So they help in the narrowing of the blood vessels. And somatostatin. Somatostatin is a anti-growth hormone, we know that, but here it is acting as it is suppressing the release of, hormones from the gastric juice, from the hormones from the digestive tract. Okay, so this is suppressing. So basically when the gastric juice is being secreted out, and when the food it is digested and it is now ready to move towards the towards the smaller intestine, then somatostatin has a role to play, that it leads to the little suppression of the gastric juice. Subsequently, when I'll be talking about the structure and the different hormones which are secreted by the intestine, there we will be talking about a hormone which is known as enterogastron, that I am going to do in the next video, all the hormones. So enterogastron is also a hormone which will be secreted by the duodenal epithelium, but it is going to come and act upon the suppression of the gastric juice. So that also has a role to play, and one is your somatostatin, another would be your enterogastron. So we will subsequently talk about that. And next one is histamine. So histamine, as we know, it dilates the walls of the blood vessels. So we can say that the serotonin and histamine, they are antagonistic because it dilates the blood vessels, right? So we can say that the serotonin and just a minute, dilates the blood vessels. So we can say that serotonin and histamine, they are antagonistic to each other functionally. Okay. Then the next cells are the G cells. They are the ones which are producing the hormone gastrin. So if I label it here, G cells, they are the ones which are producing the hormone gastrin. And where are these cells more prominently present? In the lining of the stomach lining. They are not prominently present in the cardiac region. They are more prominently present in towards the pyloric region. Okay. So they are more richer towards the pyloric region. And what is the function of the hormone gastrin? See, whenever we are going to talk about the physiology of digestion, the role of the hormones, that is also going to come side by side. They have an integrated and they function side by side, and an integrated role of each. So what happens is that when the food or the chyme is entering the stomach, the cells of the gastric lining, the G cells, they are going to produce the hormone gastrin. This hormone will now come into the lumen of the stomach and influence the other gastric glands to start their secretion, that is to start the secretion of the gastric juice. So basically the hormone will stimulate the secretion of the gastric juice. So as you can see, the gastrin hormone here has a positive effect on the release of the gastric juice. Okay, and as I had talked a little bit earlier, another hormone, enterogastron, which will be secreted by the lining of the duodenal epithelium in the small intestine. Enterogastron will suppress the release of gastric juice. So gastrin is leading to the release of gastric juice. Enterogastron is releasing to the suppression of the gastric juice. This is also a very relevant question which can be asked through your various entrance exams. Similarly, these are a very direct, simple direct questions which can be asked in different entrance exams, that oxygenetic or parietal cells, what are they secreting, or what is the role of Casel's intrinsic factor, or peptic or chief cells, which are the enzymes they are secreting. So there are many probable questions which can come in different entrance exams. And summing this up, the whole of these, whole of the composition of these components, they form the gastric juice. And gastric juice pH in adults is from 1.5 to 2.5. It's highly acidic, whereas in infants, the pH of gastric juice has found out to be around 5. And around 2000 to 3000 ml of gastric juice in an average eating individual is secreted per day. Okay, now moving further, so this was the structure of the stomach and the various cells which are contributing in the formation of the gastric juice. If you want, you can take a screenshot also. Then moving further, coming to the histology of the gastric wall, we can see that it is having the inner layer is mucosa, then we go a little outside, there is submucosa, and then there is the outer lining which is known as the visceral peritoneum. So I will start from outside towards inside. The visceral peritoneum is the lining of, this is a mesodermal lining, and this is made up of mesoderm. This is a mesodermal lining, a thin transparent membrane which is covering the stomach region, and as we know the stomach is present here towards the ventral side. We will see that it is this visceral peritoneum is attached via a thin transparent membrane towards the dorsal wall, and that is known as mesentery. So what is mesentery? Mesentery is here. Mesentery is nothing but a thin transparent membrane which is suspending your intestine and the stomach and all these organs so that they are remaining in place. It is a thin membrane which is packaging them all, and this membrane is having the supply of nerves and blood vessels, and it is a thin membrane cord which is suspending them all from the dorsal wall so that all your parts of the alimentary canal, they remain packaged and they remain in their place even if you are jumping or moving around or whatever. So here, as I was telling you, this is the mesentery, dorsal mesentery also we call it. So this is suspending, and from here there is attached the visceral peritoneum, the thin membrane, mesodermal membrane which is covering the stomach wall. Then we move further, we have the set of muscles, the longitudinal muscles, there are circular muscles, and after that we have the layer which is the submucosa layer. So we are moving from outside towards inside. The submucosa layer here is having a lot of supply of, it's having connective tissue, it is having a loose connective tissue, I will write as CT, it is having blood vessels, it is having nerve supply, it is having lymphatic tissues. So this all are the composition of the submucosa. After submucosa, then there is a layer which is known as muscularis mucosa, and after muscularis mucosa, again we have lamina propria. So muscularis mucosa and lamina propria are forming the mucosal layer. So you had first visceral peritoneum, then muscular layer, then submucosa and mucosa. Mucosa are having muscularis mucosa and lamina propria. Similarly, lamina propria is also having loose connective tissue, blood vessels, lymphatic tissues and nerve supply. And as you can see, lamina propria and muscularis mucosa, they are a part of the mucosa, and this towards the lumen of the stomach, they are having these villi. So that is the gastric rugae which they are forming to increase the surface area. So we come back to this first region, first part which we had started, that the inner lining that is having a lot of infoldings for increasing the surface area. So this is what it is representing, and in this region, the villi region, they are having these are the lining of the gastric gland. So a lot of cells are there which are pouring this secretion here, and they are forming the gastric juice. So this would be the whole layout of it. So I hope everything is clear to you, and in the next video we will be talking about the whole different parts and histology of the intestinal wall, and then further we will be talking about the hormones which are associated with your gastrointestinal tract. So keep continuing watching these videos, and I hope you have understood and got an insight of this topic. Thank you.